Hi everyone, so happy 2025. I thought I would start the year with some books that I'm anticipating to be released this year. There's quite a few this year. I was quite shocked. What I kind of do at like the end of the year is like look up authors that I really like already and check on Goodreads to see if they have anything coming out in the next year, and I usually pre-order them. So this is basically my pre-order list, but there's a lot of good books coming out this year, so I thought I would share it. If you see me kind of angled and looking this direction, it's because I'm looking at my notes on my laptop. So yeah, I thought I would just do a little rundown. I'll try to go month by month throughout the year. Speculated date, I suppose, like publication date can change, but I'll give you the dates as of today of when these books are coming out and why I'm looking forward to them basically. The first one actually has already been released. That is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. He hasn't released anything in a while, I think since the Final Girl Support Group, and I think that was 2022. I'm filming this on the 20th of January, so this already came out this week, but it's actually on its way to me, so I don't actually have it yet. I wanted to get this because it's Grady Hendrix, but I'm a little bit like, about the premise. It does sound like it's been done over and over again a little bit. So this is about women who are sent to this home for unwed mothers. It's set in the 1970s. It follows 15-year-old Fern, and she's sent to this home where it's very, very strict, and she's just after having a baby. There's this band of other girls that she meets, and they're all very different, and they end up discovering this grimoire, I think, in the library. That's all I know so far. I haven't really heard any reviews yet. I think it only just came out, so maybe people are just beginning to read it. But the premise is not that exciting to me, but I will read it since it is Grady Hendrix. I did really like Final Girl Support Group, so yeah. Witchy books aren't my favourite. I feel like everyone and their mother has written a book about that, so I think I'm just getting a little bit bored, so I don't know. But that came out on the 16th of January, so that was the first of this year. For me, there's nothing coming out in February, like at all. March though, of course, and I'm definitely not the first person to say this, but on March 18th we're getting Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and of course this is a Hunger Games prequel. I am so excited for this. I'm so excited. I'm hoping to maybe read the Hunger Games trilogy again just before it comes out. Possibly, I'll see. I read the Hunger Games trilogy as they came out back in, when was it, 2011 when they came out, I think, and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was my favourite book of 2023. Like, I put it off for a while because I knew it was about snow. It ended up being just the best reading experience of 2023. I'm so happy with it, and I loved the movie that came out as well. I think my fear and a lot of people's fear were that it would make you sympathize with Snow, but it didn't. You see how narcissistic he is from the beginning, even when he isn't technically a villain yet. So I loved that story, loved it so much. So I just know this will be incredible. So I'm like literally going to download it on my Kindle like the second it turns midnight on the 18th. I'm contemplating like taking the day off work just to read it. So this is very anticipated for me. So this is about Hamish and his stories. We get a snippet of Hamish's story, I think, in Mockingjay. Like, you kind of know what happened to him. Obviously in the Hunger Games we know that he's like struggles with alcohol. At the beginning is an unenthusiastic mentor, really, because he knows District 12 never wins, and you can tell he's really struggling. So getting his story is going to be so interesting. So it's the 50th Hunger Games, so the second quarter quell, and we know from Mockingjay that there was double the amount of contestants, so there was 2 boys and 2 girls from each district. It's strange knowing what kind of happens, because we know the capital destroy or murder everyone that Hamish loves. That drives him really into isolation and drinking, so we understand how Hamish is the way he is at the first Hunger Games book. I really love a prequel story, even though you kind of know the ending already. And what I love about Suzanne Collins is she doesn't just release these for a money grab, but obviously she's going to earn a lot of money doing this, but she always does them when she wants to say something, and for this one she wants to talk about propaganda. So it's going to be a lot of political intrigue. It's a little bit of literary fiction. Obviously this is a dystopia, so it's always like speculative. It's going to be an entertaining story, but has like an important point to it as well. So I'm just so excited for it. I'm contemplating taking the day off on the 18th of March. There's also going to be a movie in 2026, so just so excited, and I'm glad it's Hamish. Like, it's a character that we appreciate and love. I think the Hunger Games are going to be classics in 100 years, like I really do think. I think they're going to be writing essays on it, so excited about that. I will see if I'll get to reading the original trilogy before that book comes out. I think I would like to, but we'll see. There's a few books coming out in April actually. So on April 3rd we have Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. I really love the sound of this because it sounds like this very dysfunctional family story. So you've got these 3 siblings, and as you guessed, they're all gifted and talented. Their father dies and he's this big like tech mogul, I think, and he sets out a bit of a competition to see who of the siblings will inherit his company. They're kind of rivals with each other. There is like, I think, magical realism in this, so they have like abilities. But yeah, it's basically a competition between 3 siblings, so it sounds really, really good. Their lives are falling apart a little bit. I think one sibling is going through, I think he's into politics, but his marriage is breaking down. There's another one of the siblings that is like, I think she cured something, but it's all fake. And then another sibling just hasn't reached her full potential, I think, something like that. But each of them really want their father's company, so I think it's just a bit of like competition, rivalry between siblings. It sounds really interesting. I haven't read too much Olivia Blake, but I do like the premises of her books. They always sound really interesting. I did read the Atlas 6 and I did quite like it. So yeah, I'd say it would be this kind of fun, exciting multiple POV book. So excited for that. Also in April, nearly, I think every April, Emily Henry releases a book now. I think it's nearly guaranteed. So on April 22nd, she's releasing Great Big Beautiful Life. I really liked Funny Story last year, quite liked it. I don't think I'm like the biggest Emily Henry fan, but I do quite like her. I have read a couple of her books now, but I always like to get to them because they are obviously like big releases, and obviously it's a love story, of course, it's Emily Henry. So this is about 2 competing authors. I think they are vying for the chance to write the, is it autobiography? If someone else writes it for you, I think. Or is it biography? I can't remember. I think biography is when someone else writes it for you, and autobiography is when you write it yourself. But they're vying for the chance to write this biography for this woman. And she's this really eccentric woman that lives on an island. She's giving one of the authors some information and the other one different information. So she's kind of playing with them a little bit. Her name is Margaret and the 2 authors are Alice and Hayden. And she lives on this secluded island. So it sounds like it's just like literally the 3 of them on this island. So it sounds really like intense, but also fun. Like this sounds like a fun premise, and I hope Emily Henry leans on the comedy of it a little bit, because it does sound quite funny rather than like maybe a more serious one that she's released. But we'll see. It sounds like a lot of fun. The character Margaret sounds really, really interesting and fun too. Like she's kind of bound up with a lot of NDAs and stuff, so she actually can't tell a lot of the stories that she wants to tell, and she's enjoying playing with Alice and Hayden, pitting them against each other. I think it's a love story between Alice and Hayden. So yeah, I'm hoping for more comedy rather than maybe a romance with a serious side. I'm just hoping for a funny book, but we'll see. We'll see what she does. So in May 6th, and this is kind of a regular yearly thing as well, I'm noticing too, is a Olympus volume is being released. So this May it will be the 8th volume. And just as a side note, I always say this every time I mention this, it's a graphic novel, but it is also a webtoon, so you can read the story on webtoon. I prefer to physically read it. I'm only actually on, I think, the 3rd or 4th. I think I've read 3 so far. I'm really liking it. I would like to read more. I generally tend to read them during February when I'm reading primarily romance books, but this is a Greek mythology retelling of Hades and Persephone and their love story. I really love the art style of this graphic novel. It's very color coded, which I really like. It's quite humorous. It also has really dark themes as well, so just bear that in mind. But I like the balance of dark and light, to be honest, in it, and I think it's good storytelling. So I definitely will try to catch up maybe before number 8 comes out. But yeah, if you don't want to buy this, obviously you can just read these on webtoon, and these are by Rachel Smith. This one I'm going to put down tentatively because this has been pushed and pushed and pushed, so I don't know if it's coming out. But apparently on May 8th we're getting Silverborn by Jessica Townsend, so that is book 4 in the Nevermore series. This is a middle grade series that has been compared to Harry Potter. I actually only read the first book, so again, it's one of those series that I'm like, I'd love to catch up with it before the new release comes out. I give it 5 stars. I loved it. It's definitely one of those middle grades that you'd enjoy regardless of what age you are. I always say I gave this recommendation to a friend of mine who's in her 40s, and she loved it, and she read it to her kids, and they're all ages like 8, 9 and 10, and they all loved it. They loved it so much. So it's definitely one of those stories that it doesn't matter what age you are, you will enjoy. But Silverborn has been pushed and pushed. It was supposed to be released 2 years ago, I think, but it keeps changing dates. As of today, it's coming out in May, so we'll see. So this is about Morgan Crow. She's an 11-year-old girl, and she's actually a cursed child. So people keep blaming her for their bad luck. And I found the start of this book so funny because Morgan has to like write apology letters to people for like no reason because they blame her for their misfortunes. She actually is cursed to die on her 11th birthday, I think, but actually she's whisked away to Nevermore, and Nevermore is like this parallel world that's obviously a little bit more magical. She's whisked away by this man called Jupiter North, and he becomes her sponsor for the Wondrous Society. So he thinks that she's really special and she'll be able to join the Wondrous Society, and this is a society for people who have crazy talents or they're very good at something. And she doesn't know what her gift is. Jupiter's not telling her what her gift is, and she has to enter this competition to see if she'll enter. So the whole year is kind of like a trial based story, and it's so good. In the meantime, she lives in this like magical hotel, and there's like talking cats, really fun whimsy stuff, and it's very funny, very humorous, and the storytelling and writing is excellent. So book 4 is supposed to be coming out this year, and we'll see. So I do think my number 1 most anticipated release is Sunrise on the Reaping, as I mentioned earlier, but this will be number 2. This is definitely number 2. So on June 3rd, Maggie Stiefvater is coming out with her first adult fantasy. I'm like, I can't wait. I love Maggie Stiefvater. I love the Raven Cycle, so I'm just excited that she's doing an adult novel. I can only imagine how good it's going to be. So that's on June 3rd. It's called The Listeners. Nearly similar to Nevermore, it's set in a magical hotel. The premise of this sounds very unique. It sounds very kind of random and out there, but it's set during World War II. The main character of this is called June, and she is a manager of this hotel, and this hotel is kind of known for being a little bit magical. Like the water there will help you relax and de-stress you. It washes away any trouble. It's a bit of a hotel for high society. It's kind of like a place to be seen, and June was trained by these aristocratic people called the Guilfoys. They strike a deal for diplomats to stay at the hotel. Diplomats are Nazis, so she has to convince her staff to basically wait on these people, and the staff have people they know in the war. There's an FBI agent called Tucker. I think he comes to the hotel and he's trying to find out secrets, but June's doing her best to like maintain peace in the hotel, and she finds out that Tucker has a same tattoo that she has. That means they were in the same secret society years past, so they have a shared past. I think it's a bit of a romance between the two of them, I think. But yeah, the premise sounds really strange, as Maggie Stiefvater usually does. Her premises are always a wee bit out there, but I just know I love her writing. I can't wait to see what she does with an adult story. Again, I think this is going to be a book I read the day it's released. I just can't wait to get to it. Oh, I didn't realise, but actually on the same day, so June 3rd, we have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I'm assuming a lot of her books, I don't know what was the first one. I think it was Evelyn Hugo, but she has a lot of stories that are in the same universe, and they're all kind of celebrity stories, but I don't know if this one is part of it. I'm not quite sure. This is another historical fiction, as Taylor Jenkins Reid is known for doing. This is set during the 1980s during a space shuttle program, and you have Joan, and she's this professor of astronomy and physics. She sees that NASA actually call out for female scientists for the first time. She's kind of selected from this big pool of applicants to go join this space mission. So apparently this is very like found family, so she really, I think, finds her place among this group of trainees. I'm assuming there might be some love stories, but I do love that this is kind of marketed as a found family kind of story. And apparently the first mission changes everything. Don't really know what that means. I don't really want to know, but it sounds fun. I do like space sci-fi books, and I know this is more of a historical fiction, but the fact that this is about space, about NASA, I think it would be really, really cool. So yeah, I am looking forward to this one. Not long after that, so on June 10th, Bury Our Bones on the Midnight Soil, and this is by V. Schwab. I actually pre-ordered a signed copy. I love V. Schwab. She's definitely an auto-buy author for me. I've never read anything that missed for me from her. I don't know much about this. It reminds me of Wayward by Amelia Hart a little bit, the premise of the story a little bit. It's about 3 women from the 16th century to the 21st century who have all these entangled stories. I don't know, is it time travel or anything like that, or maybe it's descendants of the same family. I'm not quite sure, but 3 women, their bodies are planted in the same soil. That's all I know. I want to know little going into this, and I'm glad I know little going into this, but anyway, I'm getting a signed copy and I'm very happy about it. And again, actually on the same day is The Primal of Blood and Bone. So this is by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is book 6 in the From Blood and Ash series. I'm actually kind of shocked the series is still going. I didn't realize it wasn't finished, but this is actually book 6. It's the penultimate book, so there will be 7 books. I'm actually currently reading book 3, so I'm glad I'm really like halfway there before the next release comes out. From Blood and Ash is a bit of a forbidden romance book. I think if you like ACOTAR and Powerless, you'd kind of like it. They are independently published, so one thing I will say is that I think the writing is really not edited very well. It reads a bit like a fan fiction, but the plot of the first book is quite interesting. It's about Poppy, and she is the maiden. She's supposed to ascend to the gods, and that's supposed to be really good for this kingdom, and because of this she's really hidden from society. So the king and queen, or I think a duch and duchess, kind of hide her from society. She's supposed to be veiled all the time, and she actually has a forbidden romance with one of her guards. It's kind of a vampire werewolf story. It's got a lot of like mix of stuff. I'm being reminded of Twilight now, definitely in the 3rd book, and maybe ACOTAR more in the 1st book. It's a funny story. Is it the most well-written thing in the world? Absolutely not. Am I having kind of a fun time? Yeah. So I will continue on with the series, I think. So book 6 is coming out in June 10th. I'll go to the second half of the year now. I do find books that are on the second half of the year, sometimes the dates will change. So I might do an updated version of this maybe in the summer. We'll see. On July 8th, we have Ascension by S.T. Gibson. So this is the 2nd book in the Evocation series. And I think it's about Rhys. So I think the first book was about David and this one's about Rhys. So I'd say the 3rd book is about Rhys's wife, I would say. But the first book is about David. He's made this, I think, deal with the devil type situation where he's made this pact, I think, to have success in life. So he's this like high-flying attorney. He's also in this like psychic secret society. The pact comes to a kind of end point, if that makes sense. So he has to call in the favor of the pact, and he actually needs help from Rhys, who is his, I think, his ex-boyfriend, but is also his rival in the society. And this 2nd book, Ascension, is about Rhys. He's the main character of this. So that'll be interesting. I actually didn't read Evocation, but it's S.T. Gibson, so I am going to get to it. But yeah, the 2nd book of that is coming out in July. This isn't a release date technically. This isn't more of a translation date. So on the 31st of July, we're getting School of Shards by Marina and Sergei Dyshenko. This is Vita Nostra book 3, and this is already out in Russian, like I think actually a few years ago, but the English translation is coming out at the end of July. So you have Vita Nostra and Assassin of Reality, and then this is book 3. I think it's the final book. Unfortunately, I think Sergei Dyshenko has passed away. I think it's only Marina Dyshenko now, but they are a married couple that wrote the series together. But this is about Sasha, and she has to do these really unusual trials in order to get these gold coins so she can pay to get into this secret school. And it's a very bizarre, weird book. And the students there have basically a threat over them. If they don't succeed, something really bad will happen to like their family or something like that. So it's very dark and ominous. The students are doing these assignments and they don't understand what they're doing. They don't understand what's the point of them. It's kind of like when you get it, you get it. The older students can't tell the first years what's going on, basically. Yeah, you're kind of in the dark with Sasha for a lot of the first book. So it's very bizarre, but very smart, like very well done. Kind of a cool dark academia fantasy book. And yeah, so basically book 3 is coming out in English. at the end of July, so I'm excited. I actually didn't get to Assassin of Reality yet. They're on my shelf. It's a lot shorter than book one, but I think when I know like the last book in a series is coming out or the next book in a series is coming out, it always makes me want to get them sooner. So I think I will go for that series at some point this year soon. Okay, here's another one I'm so excited for. This is on the 5th of August. So Maggie Stiefvater again, she's coming out with the graphic novel version of The Raven Cycle. So the first book, The Raven Boys, is coming out. Did I pay €40 to get a signed copy? Personalised copy from Maggie Stiefvater herself. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I love that woman. I love The Raven Cycle. So yeah, she's going to write my name in that book and I'm going to treasure it forever. But I'm so happy because I actually just finished The Raven King. I read it over Christmas time. So the fact that I knew this graphic novel was coming out, I'm just glad that there's more Raven Cycle coming, even though it's an adaptation of the book already, so I know the story. But I'm just kind of glad that something new is coming out. It's really, really fun. I do have the Dreamer trilogy to get to, which is a spin-off trilogy based on Ronan. So I'm really looking forward to that. Going to take it slowly and enjoy it. But I'm so excited for the graphic novel. I can't wait. And the fact that it's going to be signed. I love Maggie Stiefvater. If you were unaware of The Raven Cycle, it is about these boys who all go to Aglenby Academy. Their mascot is a raven, so that's why they're called Raven Boys. And it's a very, private, affluent school. But you actually do have Adam, who is a scholarship student. He actually is very poor, but he's friends with Gansey and Ronan and Noah, and they're all from well-off families. There's really good discussions on wealth in this and what does it mean to be wealthy in certain areas of your life. You also have Blue as well, and she falls into their friendship group a little bit. She is from this commune of psychics and she has this prophecy over her that if she kisses her true love, he'll die. I love the story. Gansey he's kind of the leader of the boys and he really wants to find this dead king who apparently if you wake him up, he will grant you basically a favour. They find this magical forest. They're really into like studying ley lines and everything like that. So it's just very beautiful, very atmospheric, really good character driven story. So really, really good characters. It's definitely one of my top favorite series ever, and I'm just so happy we're getting a graphic novel version of it. So that's going to be so good. I already can tell I think I like the art style of it. The characters look how they look in my head a little bit. Yeah, so excited. But it's kind of nice, maybe if you aren't into reading too much, maybe you would prefer a graphic novel version. The fact that there's going to be 2 options is really cool. So yeah, can't wait for that. I love the fact that there's going to be 3 more because there's 4 books in the series. So actually on the 26th of August, we have a book called A Spell to Wake the Dead, and this is by Nicole Lesperance. I'm anticipating this and I'm not. As I kind of mentioned at the beginning, I don't love witchy stories that much, but Nicole Lesperance though, she wrote one of my favourite books of last year called The Depths. I think she's a really underrated author, so I want to support her. The Depths was just incredible, just really good YA horror, really suspenseful, really atmospheric, so good. But this is about teen girls who are trying to solve a series of murders in their little town. It's supposed to be this kind of twisty thriller. They found out they could be victims themselves, so they're trying to save the town and themselves from this murderer basically. There's kind of dark secrets around the town. Sounds fun. I do love a murder thriller type book, but yeah, it's supposed to have kind of witchy vibes to it and I don't love that, but I probably will give it a go because it's Nicole Lesperance. We have on the 28th of August, we have Katabasis that's coming out by R.F. Kuang. I really like R.F. Kuang. I really like The Poppy War. I really like Babel or Babel, however you pronounce it. So I am excited for what she's going to release now and in the future. I think she's very on the nose in terms of like her themes a little bit, and I know she kind of did it in a meta way for Yellowface, so sometimes I feel Kuang can be just too obvious with her points, but generally I do like her as an author, and this one sounds a little bit like Hellbent by Lee Bardugo. These are 2 academic rivals from Cambridge. They have to rescue the soul of their advisor, so it's a little bit like Dante's Inferno. I think they have to go through different levels to try to find him. So the blurb says apparently that getting there is easy, surviving it and themselves is another thing entirely. So I just like the idea that it's kind of like a romance, academic rivals story, survival trial story. Apparently it's Dante's Inferno meets Piranesi. So I think if you're a fan of either of those, you probably will like this too. I love that it sounds like a nice dark academia novel too. They're some of my favourite types of settings for books. So sounds good. I definitely will try to get to it in 2025. Oh, I'm so excited for that. This is probably number 3. So number 1, Sunrise and the Reaping. Number 2, The Listeners. And number 3 is Hot Wax by Emil Rio. So this is coming out on September 9th. This is her second full-length novel. So she came out with If We Were Villains. That was her debut novel. And it actually didn't pick up until I think Book Talk picked it up, so I think it was kind of a delayed success. That was my favourite book of 2022. I loved it so much. It was this Shakespearean acting troupe who are kind of nearly living out a Shakespeare play in real life. It was just incredible stuff. Really well written, really well done. She came out with Graveyard Shift last year. I actually didn't get to it, but it's only a little novella, so it's like, I think it's only like 150 pages long, but this is her second full-length book. So this is very different actually. It's about the 90s in the like rock and roll scene. So I don't know, is it like grunge scene of the 90s? So I think the premise of this story is basically a rock band. They're kind of misfits, they're trailblazers, they are really rising to stardom, and they go on this world tour. However, everything comes crashing down. So I'm just so anticipating this. I love Emil Rio as an author. I love rock music and going to concerts, so the fact that it's that as well, I think I just love the sound of the story. It sounds a little bit like a Taylor Jenkins Reid story, a little bit, reminding me a little bit of Daisy Jones and the Six, slightly. I'm so excited for that. The last book I have to talk about is Savage Blooms, and this is by S.T. Gibson again. This is coming out on October 7th. S.T. Gibson puts out a lot of work. I think she put out like 3 books last year. She put out Evocation, An Education of Malice, and she re-released a short story. I think she's definitely getting out there. But Savage Blooms is coming out in October. So it's about 2 friends, Adam and Nicole, and Adam is really in love with Nicole, but I think he can't quite admit his feelings, and he actually invites Nicole to Scotland, and they're searching for this legendary cave from his like grandfather's story. So it's got this like Celtic mythology to it. Sounds a bit like the Raven Cycle, a little bit. So it sounds really good. Apparently a storm washes away the road, so they're stuck on this island. So they find themselves with this woman called Eileen, and she's this kind of eccentric aristocrat, and they're kind of stuck there with her and her groundskeeper. And apparently Eileen loves her mind games. So the fact that this is based on Celtic mythology sounds really interesting too. There's no cover for this yet, I don't think, but it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds a little bit like the Emily Henry book coming out, like slightly, maybe with a magical element. So that is interesting. But that's all the books I know of so far. I probably will revisit this in the summer and see what's coming out in the second half of the year, if anything new is coming out. But as of January, that's all I know what's coming out in 2025 so far that I'm excited for. So yeah, definitely some of these are going to be read the minute they come out. Definitely The Hunger Games, and definitely Legacy of Otter, and definitely Hot Wax. I think they're definitely the top 3 for me. I'll definitely do some videos of me reading these books throughout the year, maybe reading challenges where I read anticipate releases. So I'll definitely try to vlog and review as much as I can. So thank you so much for watching. I'll leave all the books I mentioned and the dates they're being released in the description, just in case I messed anything up or anything has changed since I filmed this video. If you'd like to subscribe, I do anything bookish on this channel, so talking about new releases like this one, reading vlogs, reading wrap-ups, all that stuff. I'll leave all my details in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.